You know, the strongest faith you'll ever have is the faith nobody sees. Not the faith you post, not the faith you perform, and not the faith you package for people. I'm talking about the faith you practice in silence, the faith you hold on to when nobody's clapping, the faith that grows in private long before it shows up in public. Private faith is the faith you build in the dark, the prayers you whisper when you don't have the words, the scriptures you cling to when you don't have the strength. The moments where it's just you and God, no audience, no applause, and no validation. And the wild part is, that's the faith that actually sustains you. Not the loud faith, not the ecstatic faith, not the look at me faith, the quiet faith. And when I'm talking about like the ecstatic faith and everything else, you know, the people that make being a Christian it's like they make it their whole personality. Oh, I'm going here as a Christian, or I'm getting my nails done as a Christian, or going shopping as a Christian. Like, why are we putting that there? And then when you think about people's faith, it's like, okay, it's private faith. I don't need to know about what's going on with your faith. I don't. I don't need to know. Because one thing about it, everyone's faith is different. Everyone's path with God and walk with God is different. I don't need to know what's going on with you. You don't need to know what's going on with me. We could keep it just like that. But no, you have people who will tell you every single thing. And then you have other people that will get mad at people because their faith is not like them. And it's like, you know, everyone's faith is not going to be the same. I would think you would know this, but unfortunately, people don't know. And what they don't know, it always hurts them. Now, God does his best work. He does his best work in private. And see, we live in a world where everything is content, even spirituality. People feel the pressure to prove their faith online, to show their devotion, to announce their growth, to document their healing. But private faith doesn't need a platform. Private faith doesn't need a witness. And private faith doesn't need to trend. Some of the most powerful spiritual moments of your life will never be seen by anyone but God. And you know, I'm not talking about the ones who post videos of them shouting. No, I'm not talking about that, because we all know we don't know what they've been through. And one thing about when I see people post videos of them shouting, I'm like, yeah, we don't know your story. And when I see y'all shouting, I be like, yeah, you shouting for a reason. Because you can tell who's really shouting because they have a story, they have a reason. But I'm not going to get into that. I already got into that a couple episodes back. Yeah, you can kind of tell who's just shouting to shout and who's shouting because they have a story and who's just shouting because the music is going. All right. But when I look at people and I see them on TikTok and everything, they are in church. Now, I can understand you kind of like feeling the church service, feeling like one part of the service. And then, you know, the music is going and you already came to church, hitting church with a heavy heart because something's going on in your life. And then you just let it go. You just let God take over. You start shouting. But I'm talking about the people who kind of like, I want to put it, kind of make sure they know the camera's on, then they start shouting. And one thing we always say is, don't play. Don't play, because you was up and be playing something. Oh yeah, I'm just shouting. Let me start jumping up and down. Because how we already know that you playing, you just jumping. Ain't no feeling into it. You jumping and you kind of looking right. No. But when we know that thing finna get real, is when you hit that dip and you come back up. Y'all know the dip I'm talking about. When you hit that dip, that back lean You lean that back. You lean back and you, like somebody done. Let's see, what analogy I can do. Okay, if you ever seen a Marvel movie, you would know Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. You know how she leans back when she um holding a car over Iron Man's head or whatever, and then she comes back up. That's how we know you finna get real. That's how we know that praise finna get real, because you lean back and you come back up and then you start hitting it down. He's in you. Oh, that spirit is in you right there. He got you. And we can always tell. We can tell when the spirit done got you. Because the praise gets real. The praise gets personal. The footwork does not become choreography. Now, like I said, God works his best. He does his best work in private. He heals you in private. He convicts you in private. He strengthens you in private. He prepares you in private. By the time people see the fruit, they have no idea how many nights you cried, how many prayers you prayed, how many battles you fought in silence. Private faith is where God shapes you without the pressure of being watched. And let me go back to he convicts you in private. There are many people out there that get mad because people don't have the same convictions as them. Oh, I had to stop watching this movie, or I had to stop listening to this certain artist. I had to stop doing this. I had to stop doing that. Because God convicted me, okay? He convicted you. But he ain't say nothing about he convicted me, though. Here's the thing. And I always say this. If you have a good relationship with God, nothing and no one will come in between you and your relationship with God if you let it. Because one thing about some people will let things come in between their relationship with God and then blame that person or whatever. They'll blame them instead of blaming themselves because you allowed that or them to come in between you and your relationship with God. So whose fault is it really? No, it's not the artist's fault. It's not the music's fault. It's not the book's fault. It's not the movie's fault. It's not the TV's fault. It's your fault. Because you allow stuff like that to come in between you and your relationship with God. That's the problem. And when people say, well, I haven't been convicted, because I haven't. Now all of a sudden now it's, oh, well, you just don't want to give your life over. You just want to be lukewarm. Y'all love to throw that term around. But I'm saying, like, okay, if they're lukewarm, what were you? Because how was you able to stray away from God? How was you able to stray away from God if you have such a personal relationship with him? How were you able to stray away from God if you just have such a perfect relationship with him? But the person who has not been convicted, the person who does not share their faith on every social media platform, the person who does not make being a Christian their personality, when you see that they're not being convicted now, and they're still able to watch movies, they're able to listen to music, they're able to listen to certain artists, they're able to do this, they're able to do that. Now you want to say they're lukewarm, they don't want to change. But my thing is, you don't know how their relationship with God is. Because first and foremost, everyone's relationship with God is different. Y'all be forgetting that. Everyone has a different relationship with God. So you can't sit up here and get mad at somebody because they haven't been convicted like you have. Okay? Now, if you've ever been feeling unseen, if you ever felt like your faith is quiet, if you've been wondering why God has you in a private season, it's not punishment. It's protection. It's preparation. God hides you when you're growing up and when He's growing you up. God quiets you when He's strengthening you. God pulls you inward when He's building something deeper. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Christian J Show. And if you're in a season of private faith, I hope you know this. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're not invisible. You're being developed. And what God builds in private will stand strong in public.